Hello, my dear. Take a moment with me. Gently put your hand on your heart and take a slow breath in and out. One more time, in and out. As you do this, I want you to hear something very clearly. There is nothing wrong with you. You are not broken. You are not cursed. You are not the one person life forgot to bless. You may be longing for good things, love, support, money, opportunities, kindness, and at the very same time, a part of you may be quietly blocking them. Not because you are bad, but because deep down you are not yet convinced that you truly deserve them. You can want the goodies of life and still unconsciously slam the door on them if your inner belief says, "Not me. I'm not enough." Have you noticed how strangely comfortable it can feel to think low of yourself? Not nice, not joyful, but familiar. When you always expect little from life, when you're sure people will leave, when you assume things will be hard, a strange thing happens. Part of you feels safe. Why? Because if you never hope, then you never have to feel the pain of losing hope. If you tell yourself, "Of course it won't work, of course they'll reject me, of course it'll be difficult," then when disappointments come, you can say, "See, I knew it." It hurts, but it doesn't surprise you, and that lack of surprise can feel like control. So low self-worth becomes a kind of safe zone. It's like living in a small, dimly lit room. It's not beautiful there, but it's familiar. You know every corner. You know where the cracks are. You know where to duck when the ceiling leaks. The door to a big, bright, sunlit world is right there. But to walk through it, you'd have to believe you deserve more. You'd have to risk being seen, risk being loved, risk succeeding, risk failing. For many people, that risk feels terrifying. So they stay in the little room and say, "This is just how life is." Not because they don't want more, but because hoping feels more dangerous than staying small. Sometimes you are not afraid of failing. You are afraid of hoping. You are afraid of getting your heart up and then being hurt again. So instead of reaching out for new things, you pre-reject yourself. It won't work anyway. They wouldn't choose someone like me. People like me don't get that. And because you don't dare to even step forward, life cannot show you what else is possible. It's not that life is withholding the goodies. It's that your fear of disappointment is quietly turning them away at the door. There is another pattern many of us carry. We become addicted to our own pain. That sounds harsh, but I want to say it with a lot of tenderness. Pain can become something we know how to live with. Struggle can become an identity. When you tell yourself, "Life is always hard for me. Nothing ever works out. It's always me who gets hurt," there is a strange sense of certainty in that. You might not be happy, but you feel like at least you understand the rules. You expect the worst and feel oddly proud when you predict it correctly. In that space, suffering feels like control. If I already assume the worst, I won't be shocked when it happens. Do you see? You're trying to protect your heart. You say, "If I know the story ends badly, the ending won't hurt so much." But the cost is enormous. You are living the pain before anything bad has even happened. You suffer in advance, and you call it being realistic. You stay in jobs, relationships, patterns that hurt you because the hurt is familiar. Newness feels unsafe, but old pain feels like home. The familiar is not necessarily what is right. It is only what you have practiced the longest. The more you rehearse, "I don't deserve better" in your mind and body, the more your nervous system relaxes into that as normal. Your brain builds pathways around it. Your choices adapt to match it. You may notice you're drawn again and again to places, people, and situations that confirm, see, I was right about myself. Not because you enjoy being hurt, but because being right about your low worth feels safer than being wrong and getting your heart broken. There is another role that very often hides beneath low self-love, the victim role. Now, when I say victim, I am not denying the real pain, abuse, or unfairness you may have endured. Many of us have genuinely been hurt, but something else can happen. The identity of the one to whom life always happens can become our whole story. When you live as a victim, you get some very real hidden benefits. You don't have to make big decisions. You can say, I can't, because they won't let me. You don't have to risk change. You can say, it's pointless. The world is against me. You don't have to take responsibility for how you talk to yourself, what you choose, what you tolerate. You can say, it's all their fault. In this way, the victim role becomes a shield. It lets you avoid guilt, avoid responsibility, avoid the scary feeling of saying, I can choose differently. But that shield also blocks your power. When you are always the one who has done wrong, you are never the one who can create. When everything is out there, nothing can change in here. You are waiting for life or other people to suddenly wake up and treat you right, while your own inner voice may still be cruel and dismissive. The moment you begin to love yourself even a little, you start to quietly lay that role down. Self-love is not a slogan. It is a change of position. You move from life is doing this to me to I am someone who can choose, who can learn, who can create a different experience. You stop telling the story, this always happens to me, and you begin to ask, what part of me keeps saying yes to this? What do I believe about myself that allows this? That's not blame. That's reclaiming power. Loving yourself means you are willing to step out of the corner where you've been hiding and say, I am the artist of my own life. I may not control everything, but I do choose my colors. Now let's talk openly about why low self-love blocks the goodies from life. It's very simple. You cannot consistently receive what you do not believe you are allowed to have. If deep inside you there is a quiet belief whispering, I am not worth much, then whenever good things approach, you will find ways to put them off. I'll start later. Now isn't a good time. Choose people who can't give to you. Sabotage things right when they're going well. If you don't believe you deserve kindness, you might brush off compliments, make jokes about yourself, stay with people who belittle you. If you don't believe you deserve abundance, you might undercharge, overspend, or say no to opportunities that scare you. If you don't believe you deserve love, you might run from people who treat you well and chase people who repeat your old wounds. Self-love is like a permission slip that you sign and hand to life. It says, yes, I allow good things to come all the way in. Without that permission slip, good can knock on your door, and you will crack it open, peek out, and say, oh, not for me, and close it again. Not consciously, not deliberately, but through your choices, your boundaries, your habits, your reflexes. The good tries to enter, and your unworthiness quietly says, no, thank you. Look at your patterns gently. Do you start projects and never finish them? Do you end relationships right when they start to feel serious? Do you tell yourself, it's too late for me? Do you downplay your success or hide your talents? Very often, these are not random quirks. They are forms of self-rejection that show up before the world has a chance to reject you. If you already reject yourself, then when life echoes that back, it almost feels comforting. At least the world agrees with me. but you pay for that comfort with your joy. Here is a powerful truth I want you to sit with. The way you treat yourself trains other people how to treat you. If you constantly criticize yourself, you create a frequency where criticism feels normal and genuine appreciation feels suspicious. If you always put your needs last, you send a message. My needs aren't important, and others often unconsciously respond to that. If you tolerate disrespect from yourself, I'm stupid, I'm ugly, I'm nothing, you are more likely to tolerate it from others too. Life is a great mirror. It doesn't always show you what you want, it shows you what you believe. If deep inside you believe, I am invisible, you might notice people talking over you. If you believe, I am a burden, you might notice you apologize for existing. If you believe, I don't matter, you might find that you stay in situations where you are constantly overlooked. This is not because you deserve bad treatment. It's because your inner relationship with yourself is coloring the experiences you attract, accept, or stay in. This is why self-love is not selfish. It's not fluffy. It's not optional. It is the ground that all your goodies grow from. When you begin to treat yourself as worthy, you naturally stop saying yes to what shrinks you. You start setting boundaries. You start saying no to drama, no to disrespect, no to overgiving and under-receiving. You start letting people show up for you. You start applying for things. You start asking for fair pay. You start going to the doctor when you need to. You start speaking a little more kindly to yourself in the mirror. Little by little, the world adjusts. Some things fall away. Some people step back. That can be painful. Your old self may cry, "See, I was right, I am unlovable." But your new self can say, "No, I am simply no longer available for what harms me." And in that empty space, life will bring me what matches my new value. As you learn to love yourself, you are not just changing how you feel inside. You are putting up a new sign at the door of your life that reads, "Only what respects me may enter." You can't control everyone out there. You can't rewrite other people's stories. But you can write a different role for yourself. You can stop living as the unloved extra in your own movie and start living as the cherished main character. You can choose to believe that you are worth kindness, worth rest, worth support, worth joy. And as you do, slowly and surely, the goodies of life will have somewhere safe to land. You don't have to leap there in one day. You don't have to love yourself perfectly. You only have to begin with one new thought, one new choice. I am willing to believe that I am worth more than my old story. That is where the door opens. And that, my dear, is where the goodies begin to find their way in. We'll continue, gently, together. I want you to know that when we talk about self-love, we are not talking about something soft and fluffy that lives only in greeting cards and pretty quotes. We are talking about courage, about the quiet, everyday bravery of choosing yourself in a world that has taught you to abandon yourself. It takes courage to say, "This doesn't feel right for me," when everyone around you expects you to go along. It takes courage to say, "No," when your old pattern has always been, "Yes, of course, whatever you want." It takes courage to stop making yourself small so other people feel comfortable. And it takes a very deep kind of courage to stop living just to be approved of. Self-love is not about sitting in a corner saying, "I'm wonderful," while doing nothing about your life. Self-love is standing up for your heart, your time, your energy, your body, your dreams, even when your voice shakes. When you love yourself, you begin to set boundaries, not because you hate people, but because you have finally decided you are no longer a dumping ground. You say, I won't be spoken to like that, not because you're dramatic, but because your soul remembers you deserve respect. You say, I can't take that on right now, not because you are selfish, but because you have learned that when you are empty, you cannot truly give. You say, that's not my responsibility, not to avoid life, but to return what was never yours to carry. Self-love is the courage to choose your truth over their approval. It is the courage to risk that some people might not like the real you, instead of keeping people close by pretending to be someone you are not. That pretending has cost you so much. It has cost you sleep, joy, authenticity, health. When you choose self-love, you may lose a few people who only loved you when you were convenient, compliant, and quiet. But you gain something priceless. You gain yourself. You gain the ability to look in the mirror and say, I may not be perfect, but I am no longer abandoning me. And the ones who can love the real you begin to find their way into your life. Self-love is also the courage to stop speaking to yourself like an enemy, to catch the voice that says, you're stupid, you're ugly, you're a failure, and to say, no, I don't talk to myself that way anymore. You would stand up for a child who was being bullied. Self-love asks you to stand up for the child inside you who has been bullied by your own thoughts for years. It might feel strange at first. You may think, if I'm kind to myself, I'll become lazy. If I stop beating myself up, I'll never change. But the truth is the opposite. When you are frightened and shamed, you freeze. When you are loved, you grow. Compassion is not an excuse to do nothing. It is the fuel that makes healthy change possible. I often say, you are the only thinker in your mind. Self-love is the courage to start thinking thoughts that support you instead of destroy you. It might begin with simple sentences like, I am learning, I am trying, I am doing the best I can today. That is courage. That is love. There is another side to self-love that we often misunderstand. Responsibility. Not harsh, punishing responsibility that says, you messed up, you're terrible, now you must suffer. I mean a gentle, sacred responsibility that says, you are mine to care for. I will not abandon you again. Self-love is not about blaming your parents, your ex, your boss, the world, forever. It is about kindly saying, yes, many things hurt me, and now I will take responsibility for how I treat myself, for the choices I make, for the life I create from this moment on. Responsibility does not mean you must be perfect. It means you show up. You show up for your body with a glass of water instead of only more stress. You show up for your mind by noticing when you are spiraling and choosing one kinder thought. You show up for your heart by leaving rooms where you are constantly disrespected. You show up for your dreams by taking one small action instead of only wishing. Self-love is saying, no one else is coming to live this life for me. I am the one who will walk me through it. And then you walk one small step at a time. You may still make mistakes. You may still fall back into old habits. That does not make you unworthy. That makes you human. You do not lose your worth because you yelled or procrastinated or chose the wrong person again. Your worth does not go up and down with your behavior. You are worthy because you exist. Responsibility and self-love means that instead of punishing yourself for the mistake, you become curious. What was I feeling? What did I need? How can I support myself differently next time? You move from I am bad to I am learning, from I failed to I'm growing. That is such a kind and powerful shift. I want you to hear this very clearly. You do not need to be flawless to deserve good things. You do not need to fix every part of you to be worthy of love, money, rest, joy. You do not need to heal every wound before you can receive kindness. You only need to be present with yourself, here, now, in this breath. Present enough to notice when you are abandoning yourself again. Present enough to choose a slightly kinder thought. Present enough to say no when your body screams no, even if your fear says yes. Present enough to say, I will take care of you, to the tired, scared parts inside. That is self-love. It doesn't always look glamorous. Sometimes it looks like going to bed on time. Sometimes it looks like making that difficult phone call. Sometimes it looks like walking away. Sometimes it looks like cooking yourself a proper meal. Sometimes it looks like putting your hand on your heart and whispering, I am on my own side now. Self-love will not make you selfish. It will make you real. It will make you honest about what hurts and what heals. It will make you clearer. It will make you more generous because you are no longer giving from emptiness. When you are full of your own care, you can give freely without resentment. So as we go on, I would love for you to begin playing with these new ideas. Self-love is courage. Self-love is gentle responsibility. Self-love is choosing to care for yourself, not because you have finally become perfect, but precisely because you are imperfect and still infinitely worthy. You don't have to do it all at once. You can begin today with one small act of courage, one small act of responsibility, one small act of love toward yourself. And from there, your life will begin, little by little, to look more and more like a place where you truly belong. Sometimes I sit with someone, or I imagine you right now, and I can almost hear that heavy voice in the background. I'm not good enough. I'll mess it up. It won't last. It's not for someone like me. I remember how loud that voice used to be in my own life, and I want to take your hand and say, you are not strange, you are not broken, and you are certainly not alone. You have simply been living inside a cocoon of low self-worth for a very long time, and today we're going to gently loosen the threads so you can breathe, you can move, and you can begin to step out into a bigger, kinder life. Not all at once, not overnight. One loving, practical lesson at a time. Let's talk about 5 practices that help you crawl out of that old cocoon and into the sunlight of self-love, not as a concept, but as something you can live. Lesson 1, seeing the inner critic for what it is. There is a voice in your head that says, I'm not good enough. I always ruin things. Nobody will really love me if they see the real me. What's the point of trying? I'll fail anyway. You know that voice, don't you? It loves to show up late at night, or right after you do something brave. It has a lot of opinions, and none of them are kind. I want you to hear this very clearly. That voice is not you. It is a collection of old messages, old fears, old criticisms, old misunderstandings, replaying themselves like a worn-out tape. You are not the tape. You are the one who is listening. As a child, you might have heard, "What's wrong with you? Why can't you do anything right?" Or perhaps there was no direct criticism, but there was silence, disapproval, emotional distance. Your young mind did what all children do. It made a conclusion about itself. It must be me. I must be the problem. That conclusion became a belief. That belief grew into an inner voice, and now that voice speaks as if it were the truth. But it is not the truth. It is a habit, and like any habit, it can be changed. The next time you hear, "I'm terrible," I want you to gently shift it to, "I'm learning." Instead of, "I always fail," try, "I am still practicing." Instead of, "I'll never get it right," try, "I'm willing to get better at this." Can you feel the difference? One voice is a judge passing a life sentence. The other is a loving teacher noticing where you are and walking with you forward. Self-love is not about pretending you never make mistakes. It is about refusing to define your entire being by them. You might say to yourself, "I am not a failure. I am a person who is learning. I am not a mess. I am a person in process. I am not unlovable. I am a person who is learning how to be loved, starting with me." Every time you catch that old voice and replace "I'm awful" with "I'm learning," you are cutting one small thread of the cocoon. You are stepping 1 inch away from the old identity and toward a new one. You are no longer merging with the critic. You are becoming the compassionate listener who says, "I hear you." And we're going to speak differently now. Lesson 2, practicing receiving in small, everyday ways. If you have lived in low self-worth for a long time, receiving can feel extremely uncomfortable. A compliment comes and you want to deflect it. "Oh, it's nothing." Someone offers help and you instantly think, "I don't want to bother them." A good thing happens, and a part of you whispers, "This won't last. Be careful. Don't enjoy it too much." So many of us are very good at giving and terrible at receiving. We pour out energy, attention, care, time, money, and when life tries to pour anything back in, we tilt the cup so it spills. Then we say, "See, nothing good ever comes to me." Self-love invites you to learn a new skill, receiving the small things so you can be ready for the bigger things. Think of it like training a muscle. You don't start with lifting a car. You start with lifting something light. Start here. When someone gives you a compliment, instead of arguing, simply say, "Thank you." Full stop. Feel how strange and vulnerable that might be. Let it still be okay. When someone offers you help, carrying something, listening, giving advice, opening a door, practice saying, "Yes, thank you," without adding, "You don't have to," or "Are you sure?" When a moment of joy appears, a song you like, a beam of sunlight, a funny message, a warm drink, let yourself smile without needing a reason. You don't need to earn that small moment. You can even turn it into a playful challenge with yourself. Today, I practice receiving 3 small things without pushing them away. Maybe it's a kind word, a quiet minute, a cozy chair on the bus, a compliment from a stranger, someone letting you go first. Instead of brushing it off, pause and say inside, "I received that. Thank you." Why are these tiny things important? Because they tell your nervous system, your subconscious, your heart, it is safe to let good in. When you practice receiving the small, you stretch open the part of you that has been clenched shut. Then when larger opportunities, deeper love, or greater abundance come along, you will not be as quick to sabotage them. Your system will already know how to say, "Oh yes, I can have this." You are not greedy for receiving. You are not a burden for accepting kindness. You are allowing the natural flow of giving and receiving to move through you. Self-love says, "I am part of that flow. I am allowed to be blessed, not only to be the one who holds everything together for everyone else." Lesson 3, Boundaries as love with a shape. Many people think if they love themselves, they will turn into selfish monsters who never consider anyone else. In truth, the opposite is more common. When you don't love yourself, you overgive, over people please, over explain, and end up exhausted, resentful, and secretly hoping someone will rescue you. Self-love needs a body. It needs a shape. And one of the clearest shapes it takes is boundaries. A boundary is simply a line that says, this is okay for me, and this is not okay for me. It might sound like, I can't talk right now, I'm resting, let's speak tomorrow. I don't accept being spoken to like that. I'm not available to do that for free. I'm not comfortable with this, I'm going to leave. If you truly love yourself, you cannot willingly keep placing yourself where your energy is constantly drained, your soul is always trampled, your needs are never considered. That doesn't mean you cut everyone off or shout at people. It means you quietly begin to choose environments, relationships, and rhythms that nourish you instead of depleting you. Every time you say no to something that makes you small, you are saying yes to the goodies of life. When you say no to being the friend who is always available at 2 a.m. for drama, but never supported in return, you're saying yes to real mutual care. When you say no to working 80 hours a week for someone who doesn't respect you, you're saying yes to your health and to future opportunities that will value you. When you say no to someone who only calls when they need something, you're saying yes to more balanced relationships. Boundaries are not walls. They are doors that you choose to open and close. They say, I am willing to be available at this level and no more. They say, I love you and I also love me, and I will not sacrifice myself to keep you comfortable. At first, setting boundaries may feel terrifying. Your cocoon of low self-worth has told you that if you ever say no, you'll be abandoned. Sometimes people who are used to your old behavior will be upset. They might push back. That is not a sign that you are wrong. It is a sign that the old pattern is shaking. Self-love holds your hand through this and whispers, you are allowed to protect your energy. You are allowed to protect your time. You are allowed to protect your heart. And as you do, you create space for better people, better opportunities, and better experiences to enter your life. The true goodies that match your growing sense of worth. Lesson 4, letting go of the addiction to pain with safe, gentle newness. If you have lived for years in struggle, chaos, drama, criticism, or scarcity, your system may be addicted to suffering. Not because you enjoy it, but because your body and brain know how to function there. When something genuinely good begins to happen, you might feel anxious, suspicious, even panicked. A part of you is thinking, this is too much, this is too different, this is not safe. So you start an argument, you procrastinate, you overspend, you forget important commitments. Anything to pull you back into the old familiar state. Then you say, see, happiness doesn't last. The solution is not to force yourself into 100% bliss overnight. Your nervous system is like a shy animal. If you drag it into the bright light, it will run. You don't need to jump from misery to ecstasy. You can simply raise your experience by 10% at a time. This is what I call safe novelty. Newness that feels small enough for your system to accept, but positive enough to begin changing your life. Maybe you go to bed 15 minutes earlier than usual and let your body rest. Maybe you choose one meal today that feels nourishing rather than punishing or numbing. Maybe you speak one kind sentence to yourself in the mirror instead of 10 cruel ones. Maybe you spend 5 minutes in the morning breathing and saying, I am willing to have a gentler day. These are not huge, dramatic acts, but they are new. They tell your body, we are allowed to feel slightly better. They teach your nervous system that joy, rest, kindness, and care are not dangerous. They are not tricks. They are not bait for later pain. They are simply different, and different can be safe. Each small act of safe novelty loosens the glue of your suffering habit. You might still feel the pull to go back to the old pattern, to pick the chaotic partner, to skip sleep, to overwork, to criticize yourself. That's okay. Instead of yelling at yourself, you can say, of course this feels strange. I've practiced pain for years. Today, I'm just raising my happiness by 10%. That is enough. Self-love understands that your nervous system needs time to trust happiness. It is patient. It says, we won't force you. We'll just invite you again and again into something gentler. Over time, what once felt too good to be true starts to feel normal, and the old chaos starts to feel less interesting. That is how you climb your way out of the cocoon, one safe, loving step at a time. Lesson 5, mirror work. Looking yourself in the eyes. There is a practice I have taught for many years, and it is one of the most powerful ways to build self-worth, mirror work. Many people squirm when I mention it because it feels so vulnerable, but that vulnerability is exactly why it heals. Stand or sit in front of a mirror. Look into your own eyes, not at your hair, not at your skin, not at your flaws. Look into your eyes, the windows of your soul. You might feel resistance, embarrassment, even anger or sadness. That's okay. That tells you how long it has been since you truly met yourself. Now, very softly, begin to say to your reflection, I love you. I am here with you. You deserve good things. You might not believe it at first. You might feel silly. You might want to look away. You might hear the inner critic say, this is stupid, or no one has ever said that to you. Why start now? Let that voice chatter in the background. Keep your gaze. Keep your words. I love you. I am here with you. You deserve good things. You are not begging. You are not lying. You are offering your inner child, your wounded self, the words they should have heard long ago. You are becoming the loving adult you always needed. Even if you can only manage 10 seconds at first, that is a start. Over time, you can build to 30 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes. Mirror work is like pouring warm water on frozen ground. Slowly, the ice melts. Slowly, the soil softens. Slowly, new seeds can take root. Something miraculous happens when you start to stand on your own side this way. Your posture changes, your decisions change, the people you tolerate change, the standards you hold for your life change, and life, as the great mirror it is, begins to respond. Opportunities that match your newfound respect for yourself appear. People who value you show up. The goodies you once pushed away can finally come closer because they now have a partner, you, who is willing to receive them. Remember, you are not the harsh voice in your head. You are the one who can choose a kinder thought. You can practice receiving in small ways as a rehearsal for bigger blessings. Boundaries are self-love with hands and feet. They protect your energy so good things have a place to land. You don't have to leap out of suffering. You can climb out gently, 10% at a time. When you look into your own eyes and say, I love you, I am here, you deserve good, you are rewriting the story of your life. You do not have to earn your worth. You only have to remember it, one practice at a time. As you start to stand with yourself, truly with yourself, life begins to stand with you too. You are leaving the cocoon of self-doubt and stepping into the open air of self-love. It might feel wobbly, it might feel new, but it is real and it is yours. You are worthy. You are learning. You are allowed to receive. And life, my dear, loves you more than you know. And now, I want us to talk very softly about these goodies you keep hearing me mention. So many people think goodies mean only big things. A huge amount of money, a perfect soulmate, a dream house, a glamorous career. And of course, those can be wonderful expressions of good. But if you believe goodies are only those big, shining moments far away in the future, then right now will always feel empty. You will always think, my life starts later. My blessings are somewhere else. Today is just something to survive. When you don't love yourself, that's how life often feels. Like you're standing outside the bakery window, watching other people eat, telling yourself, not for me. Self-love doesn't just invite more goodies in, it changes the way you see what goodies even are. Goodies are every expression of life that nourishes you, holds you, lifts you, makes your shoulders drop and your breath deepen. Goodies are not only the fireworks, they are the quiet candlelight too. A goodie can be a morning where you wake up and your mind is just a little less noisy than yesterday. It can be a moment in the day where you suddenly realize, I haven't attacked myself in the last hour. It can be the courage to send one email you've been avoiding. It can be someone offering you a seat, a smile from a stranger, a message from a friend that says, thinking of you. Goodies can be your body healing a little, your energy returning a little, your heart softening a little. When you start to love yourself, these are no longer invisible. They become visible treasures. Think of peace as a goodie. You might be used to chaos in your mind, always scanning for danger, rehearsing conversations, worrying about the future. When you begin treating yourself with kindness, there may be a moment when you notice your thoughts have slowed down, even just for a breath. That tiny peace is not nothing. It is a miracle. It is a holy moment. It is life giving you a taste of what your new normal can be. You might have a day where you don't feel ecstatic, but you feel lighter, less heavy, not so overwhelmed. That is a goodie. That is a blessing. Self-love teaches you to notice it, to say, thank you for this bit of peace. I welcome more. Goodies can also be opportunities. A conversation that opens a door, a book that arrives at the perfect time, a class you stumble across, a new idea that lights something up inside. When you believe deep down that you are unworthy, you often dismiss or ignore these openings. You say, this is not for me, and walk past them. But as you begin to value yourself, you start to see, this could be a step for me. This might be a path for me. Maybe I can try. The opportunity doesn't have to be giant. It might be a free workshop, a small project, a coffee with someone inspiring. When you love yourself, you don't immediately slam the door. You say, I'm allowed to explore this. One of the sweetest goodies is good people. When you don't respect yourself, you will often tolerate people who don't respect you either. You might think, this is just how relationships are. This is all I can get. As you grow in self-love, something shifts quietly. Your standards. You begin to feel in your body when someone drains you, when someone talks down to you, when someone uses you. And the love you have been cultivating for yourself gives you the courage to say, no more. That no more is a goodie all by itself. Because as you step away from those who harm your spirit, you create space for those who uplift it. A goodie might be one kind friend who truly listens, one mentor who believes in you, one colleague who sees your talent, one person who treats you with gentle respect. You might think, that's just normal. But if your normal has been neglect, criticism, or indifference, that one kind relationship is a treasure. Goodies can absolutely be health. Maybe you have lived for years ignoring your body, pushing yourself, numbing your pain, calling yourself names in the mirror. Self-love might start with one glass of water, one walk around the block, one doctor's appointment, one stretch before bed. These look small from the outside, but from the inside they are acts of profound respect. One day you might notice you are a little less tired, your body hurts a little less, your sleep is a little deeper. That too is a goodie. Not because you have a perfect body or perfect health, but because you are moving from self-neglect to self-care. And each small improvement is life saying, "Thank you for taking care of my beloved." Even a light-headed day, a day where you don't feel weighed down, is a goodie. Perhaps you laugh without forcing it. Perhaps you realize in the afternoon, today I haven't cried. Perhaps you finish a task and instead of immediately criticizing yourself, you feel a quiet satisfaction. These moments are easy to miss if you are only scanning for big drama or big miracles, but they are the building blocks of a new life. When you love yourself, you start to count them. You start to say, today I had 3 little goodies, a peaceful cup of tea, a conversation where I told the truth, and 10 minutes of genuine rest. That matters. Self-love does not always change your life by dropping lottery tickets from the sky. Very often it changes your life by changing what you see as valuable. You begin to see the way life has been loving you all along in 1,000 quiet ways. The breath that never left you, the body that kept you alive even when you were unkind to it, the mind that kept trying to solve problems for you, the people who stayed when they didn't have to, the resilience that kept you moving. As you recognize these as goodies, the whole flavor of your life begins to shift from "nothing good ever happens to me" to "good is here and more is on the way." So when I talk about receiving goodies from life, I'm not only talking about money in your account or romance in your inbox. I am talking about every form of good that makes your soul exhale: peace, opportunity, kindness, insight, support, ease, laughter, rest, clarity, healing. And the beautiful thing is this: when you love yourself, you both see more of it and allow more of it. You're no longer standing outside the bakery with your face pressed against the glass. Little by little, you are walking inside, sitting down at the table, and letting yourself taste what has always been available. You might begin today by whispering, "I am willing to see the goodies that are already here. I am willing to count peace as a blessing. I am willing to treat small joys as big gifts." When you do that, your life doesn't have to wait for one huge miracle to feel worth living. It becomes rich, tender, and meaningful, one quiet goodie at a time. And as you appreciate what is already here, you make room in your heart for even more good to find you. Life has more goodness for you than you can imagine. Self-love is how you learn to recognize it, receive it, and rest in it. I want to leave you with something you can actually do every single day. Something simple enough that you'll remember it, and powerful enough that it will slowly rewrite the way you see yourself and what you allow into your life. Think of this as a tiny daily ceremony where you and life meet each other halfway. You don't need candles, crystals, or an hour of silence. You only need 3 minutes, your breath, and a willingness to be a little kinder to yourself than you were yesterday. You can do this ritual in bed when you wake up, in the bathroom with the door closed, in your car before you step into work, or at night before sleep. I like to call it approve, allow, accept. 3 words to guide you from self-rejection to self-receiving. First, approve. So many of us have lived our lives under a constant inner verdict. Not enough yet, not good enough, not there yet. When I change this, lose that, fix this, then I might be okay. That voice never ends. Approval in this practice is not about saying, I'll never change anything. It is about saying, I am on my own side right now, even as I grow. So, place your hand on your heart, take a slow breath in, and as you exhale, say softly, I approve of myself exactly as I am in this moment. Or, if that feels too strong at first, you can say, I am willing to approve of myself right now. Feel how radical that is. You are no longer standing outside of yourself, pointing a finger. You are stepping in beside yourself, placing an arm around your own shoulders, saying, I've got you. We're in this together. Approval doesn't mean you suddenly think you're perfect. It means you are done waging war on yourself as a way of life. Then we move to allow. You can crave good things and still keep the door bolted because somewhere inside you are whispering, not me, not yet, not really. Allowing is giving permission, not to the universe, but to yourself. Sit with that hand on your heart or your belly, breathe again and say, I allow good to come into my life. I allow life to surprise me with kindness. You might even try the exact words, I give myself permission to receive good things. Notice any part of you that flinches or tightens when you say this. That's just the old habit. You don't need to fight it. Just keep breathing and keep allowing. You might picture a door in front of you unlocking, a window opening, a tight fist slowly uncurling. Allowing is an act of spiritual maturity. You are no longer telling life, stay out. You are saying, you may come in. And then we come to accept. Life can pour blessings at your feet, but acceptance is the moment you actually pick one up and hold it to your heart. So many beautiful souls can approve of themselves a little. They even begin to allow some good. But when it truly arrives, the compliment, the opportunity, the love, the rest, guilt rushes in. Who am I to have this? There are people worse off. I haven't suffered enough. I haven't worked enough. I'm not holy enough. And they push it away. Acceptance is when you look at the good in front of you, however small, and you say, yes, I receive this, and I refuse to feel guilty for it. So once more, with a deep breath, you say, I accept the good that is here for me. I receive my blessings without guilt and without apology. If that feels too big, begin with, I am learning to accept good without guilt. Acceptance is not arrogance. It is not selfishness. It is honoring the truth that you are a child of life, and life delights in giving to you. When you accept a drink of water, you are not stealing it from the ocean. When you accept a little joy, you are not robbing the world. You are allowing the flow to do what it has always wanted to do through you. So in your 3-minute ritual, you might say it simply in 3 steps. Approve. I accept myself exactly as I am right now. Allow. I allow good things to come into my life. Accept. I receive good without guilt or shame. 3 breaths, 3 sentences, 3 minutes, every day, over and over and over until the old cocoon of I'm not enough begins to loosen, and the wings of maybe I really can have a gentle life begin to unfold. Now, before we close, I want to leave you with a set of affirmations you can use at the end of your video, at the end of your day, or any time you need to remember who you are becoming. Let them be like drops of warm light falling slowly into your heart. You can speak them in your mind, whisper them out loud, or even stand before a mirror and let your own eyes hear them. I love and accept myself exactly as I am right now. You don't wait until you've fixed every flaw, healed every wound, or met every goal. You offer love to the version of you that exists in this very breath. I am worthy of good things. Not because you worked nonstop, not because you never made a mistake, not because you are better than anyone else. You are worthy because you exist. I allow life to give its gifts to me. Imagine not batting away every kindness, every opportunity, every moment of rest. Feel the possibility of opening your hands instead of clenching them. I am leaving the safe zone of low self-worth. See that old cocoon, familiar but tight, and picture yourself gently wriggling free. It may feel shaky, it may feel new, but it is movement, and that is grace. I choose responsibility and freedom. Responsibility means I will take care of me. Freedom means I will no longer live only in the stories that hurt me. These two walk hand in hand. Life loves me and I love life. Let this be the final note ringing in your heart. Imagine the whole universe as an ocean of love, and you as a wave in that ocean, not separate, never forgotten, always held. You can take these affirmations and weave them gently into your day. Say one when you brush your teeth, one when you drink water, one when you feel hurt, one when you receive something good. You don't have to shout them. You only have to keep offering them, like a loving adult repeating to a frightened child, "It's okay. It's okay. It's okay." Remember, you are not trying to bully yourself into confidence. You're training yourself into kindness. Approve of who you are in this moment. Allow the good that wants to reach you. Accept it without shrinking or apologizing. Then let these affirmations soak into the deepest parts of you, morning after morning, night after night. You don't have to chase your worth. You already have it. You don't have to beg for love. You are learning to be it for yourself. You don't have to earn every blessing with suffering. You are allowed to receive. You are loved. You are guided. You are more precious than you know. And as you begin to truly love and approve of yourself, you will look around and realize the goodies were never gone. You are finally letting them in.